sum up all this together, to sum up all this, so in this embryonic development of a fetus, the first formed organ, I tell you again, the first formed organ will be the heart. Heart is the first organ to start working in the developing fetus. And after the first month, especially after the first month of the pregnancy, the heart starts to develop. Of course, in the second month or in the next month, the limbs, the joints, the limbs, the digits, we can say, they starts to develop in the second month. And of course, by the end of the first trimester, what do we say the trimester? Trimester is nothing but the third month, the first 3 months. The first 3 months will be the first trimester, the next 3 months will be the second, and the next 3 will be the third. So by the end of this first 3 months, all the major organs, including the genitals, including the sex organs, also develops in the developing fetus, and it is very, very visible. That's why immediately the doctor asks the mother to go for a scan, because that is the duration where the organs can be easily seen, whether the organs are normal or whether it is abnormal. Everything can be visualized through a scan. That is why a mother is advised to go for a scan. So this all takes place at the end of the first trimester. So the next month, especially after this, what happens? Especially I can tell you after the first trimester, maybe in the second trimester, that is maybe I can tell you the 5th month, when the baby, the stages of the fetus reaches the 5th month, what happens? Now the baby starts to move, right? You can see in the picture there itself, right? It starts to move. Once it starts to move, you can also see some hairs are protruding on the skull part, and it starts appearing on the head. That is also seen. So by the end of the second trimester, you can see that is when the second trimester ends, that is in the next phase, the eyelashes, the beautiful eyelashes are formed. The eyelids are also formed for a baby, and the body gets covered with some fine hairs, some fine protective hairs. It gets covered, and of course, at the end of the 19th, the full week, that is the end of the 20th week, what happens? In the 9th month, the fetus, now it fully develops. It is fully developed. The baby is fully developed with organs, with the genitals, with the limbs, with the movements, with hairs and everything, and it is ready to expel out, and it is ready for the birth. So this is the embryonic development which takes place right from the fertilization to the up to the baby reaches at the stage of birth. So the next phase, the next discussion of our topic will be the menstruation. Of course, you can see in the figure the different stages of menstruation. So the menstruation starts right from the age of 11 up to 15, and that phase is experienced in every woman, especially in every girl child. And that phase is called as the puberty. That phase is called as the puberty, and that stage, since it is the starting of the reproductive phase, it is called as the menarche. It's called as the menarche. And of course, the finishing part of the or the completed part process, the biological process, is called as the menopause, and this normally takes place, as I told you in the video, in the earlier slide, from 45 to 50. Okay, let me explain what are the different stages of this menstruation. So let me explain from right day one. What happens? The first day will be the beginning of the menstrual cycle. That is, it's the first day of the bleeding to start. It starts to come out and from the menstrual cycle, and it varies according to an individual. That is, normally it varies from 28 to 30 days. So the menstrual phase can be divided under 4 heads, as you see in the figure. It can be divided under the 4 heads. The first menstrual cycle will be the uterus, especially the day 1. The uterus lining is now prepared for the implantation, and it starts to shed. The bleeding, which starts right from, and it lasts up to 3 to 5 days. Up to 3 to 5 days, the bleeding starts to shed out. So in this phase, the follicles, especially the primary follicles, it starts to develop into a mature follicles, and that matured follicles is called as the Graafian follicles. What do we say? It's called as a Graafian follicles. Of course, this endometrium, what happens? This endometrium also starts preparing for another conception. That is, it starts to prepare for another pregnancy. The uterus now it's ready to receive the sperm after this. And what happens? The uterus starts to prepare for another fertilization, I told you. Now, the ovulatory phase, the next cycle will be the mid phase. The mid phase, as you can see there, it's called as the ovulatory phase. What happens in this ovulatory phase? The ovulation takes place and it lasts for about, it lasts from the day 13 to 17. It lasts from the day 13 to 17. The end of the follicular phase, this end of the phase along with the ovulation. So along with the process of ovulation period, it is defined as the process of fertilization. It is defined as a process of fertilization. The next phase, you can see the luteinizing phase there. The luteal phase. It is, I can tell you in other words, it's a post-ovulatory process. It's a post-ovulatory process or the phase where the corpus luteum, where the is decided here, and also the fertilization starts after the pregnancy also starts. The fertilization occurs and the pregnancy, the conception also starts along with that. Supposing if the fertilization does not take place, if the egg does not meet the sperm or the sperm does not goes and meet the egg, what will happen? The onset of the menstrual cycle will again come back. Supposing if it meets, then of course it will form as a baby and it will reach all the stages as we learned. Supposing if it does not meet the requirement, especially the eggs does not fertilize, of course it will come down as the menstrual cycle. Now let's discuss some important hormones which helps in the menstrual cycle. Of course, the chemical hormones in our body, the chemical messengers, which is called as the hormones in our body, plays a very vital role in the process of the menstruation. Especially this glands helps to change, responsible for many secondary development in a boy or in a girl. If you take a boy, it will be the breaking of the larynx. The voice will break. The boy will start to be mature. And also the shoulders, everything will be developed. When you take in case of a female, she will also develop a shrill voice. So she will be like a little child going here and there, but after this, she will develop a shrill voice. And of course, the bodily changes can be seen. So for all this endocrine hormones plays a very important role, especially the estrogen. And the progesterone helps, it does a numerous work. So menstrual cycle is, menstruation is nothing but it is a phase of certain hormones, and each menstrual cycle, each phase of the menstrual cycle, it is influenced or it is brought about by the hormones, especially just now I told you the estrogen, the progesterone, the FSH, or I can tell you the follicular stimulating hormone, which helps the development of an ovum or in the development of an ovum, and finally the luteinizing hormones. All these are the sex hormones, and this variation of each of these hormones is it is the phase where the girl undergoes. Of course, the follicular stimulating hormones and the luteinizing hormones are secreted by the pituitary. They give the coordination. The pituitary organ, especially the pituitary gland, it is otherwise called as what? It is otherwise called as a master gland. That will coordinate and it will stimulate the growth of the ovarian follicles. And after this, it stimulates the growth of the ovarian follicles. It helps to produce another hormone called as the estrogen. Of course, the progesterone is facilitated or it is secreted by the corpus luteum. So, the next will be the barrier method. Barrier means something, the prevention method, and how the prevention can be takes place. Of course, some preventions can be taken place through the surgical, through the pills or through the drugs, both in males and in females, to prevent this fertilization or to prevent this process of pregnancies. So it can be that is the natural birth controls is one of the important. It's a surgical procedure. So the women, for a woman, for not to get all these processes, they do a process, a surgical process. The next one will be the barrier method. How it helps the barrier between a woman and a female sex, especially the ovums or the ovum and the sperm from not reaching, and it prevents the fertilization. And also a woman can also use certain pills and certain drugs or certain tablets, or she can also use under the prescription of a doctor, so that this egg also will not be fertilized. And in males also the same thing. The hormonal method also is one of the important place where it prevents the fertilization. It prevents the fertilization, the ovulation, and once it is done, it is done with the help of the pills. So the estrogen and the progesterone releasing hormones, everything is coordinated and controlled through injections. And also some of the devices, the doctor itself gives some devices like the copper teas and all that to prevent this factor. And surgical method is also done for a women, especially in the tubes. The tubes are cut. The tubes are cut, and that process is called as the tubectomy, and in men it is called as vasectomy. So it involves the in vasectomy, it's nothing but it involves a cut, or it involves a cut of the vas differentia, so that it is the sperm cells are not active and they never reach the fertilized egg. So all these, by all these methods, the prevention of the fertilization can take place. So far in this session, we learnt about what is the female reproductive system, what is the female reproductive system consists of, and how the hormones, especially the estrogen and progesterone, plays a very, very vital role in this process. Of course, we also learnt about the different embryonic stages of a development of a fetus, right from the fertilization, the 2 cells, the 4 cells, the 6, 8, 16, and what is a morula is, what is a blastula is, gastrula is, what is implantation, and we also saw what are the different organs which is developed right from the week 1 up to the end of the 9th month, and we saw how the babies develop, especially the organs, each organs beautifully they develop. And we also we were all seeing, we were all witnessing about the phases in the menstrual cycle, and what is menstrual cycle is, and what is the correct age of for a puberty in a girl. And also we saw about what is the menopause is, and how ovulation takes place, what happens in the first stage of uterus, in the first stage of the menstruation cycle, maybe the second, what is this ovulation, what is post ovulation is, and finally the full egg or the fertilized egg, how it is ready to receive the sperm for fertilization. And supposing if it is fertilized, if the egg meets the demands, if the egg meets the demands, especially when it meets the sperm, and if it is fertilized, of course, it starts to develop into a developing embryo. And of course, the stages starts right from the fertilization and up to the child is expelled, that is, the child is brought out after the delivery, that is after the process of the fully matured fetus. And we also learnt about, once this fertilization does not take place, if at all this fertilization does not take place, what it comes as a menstrual cycle. It comes down, the blood starts to shed as a menstrual cycle, and this cycle repeats in every life of a woman. And the last but not the least, we also saw about the prevention methods, how to prevent this fertilization, the conception method, and what are the surgical procedures which is done for both men and women, and some devices are advised by the doctor itself. And we also saw how the hormones also play in coordinating this fertilization, some pills, especially the pills which is given by the doctors, and all these forms a very vital role in the reproductive phase of both men and women. So I think this session was interesting. Hope you all understood this session. If you like this video, please share the video. Of course, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button there. Please subscribe to our channel 2X for more updates and for more lectures. Keep following us and please tune into our channel. So meet you all in the next video, maybe in the next chapter. Until then, it's me signing off here. So take care, children.